Good evening, class. My name is George Kappas. I'm the director of the Hypnosis Motivation Institute, and tonight our class is Success, Prosperity, and Happiness, the Mental Bank Program. How many are here for the first time ever in the building at HMI College of Hypnotherapy? Okay, welcome to our guests, first time here. And the rest of you have been here before? Okay. So just a little bit about where you're at for our new people. This is Hypnosis Motivation Institute, HMI, College of Hypnotherapy. We're America's first nationally accredited college of hypnotherapy, and we have a professional training program, and we train, guess what? Hypnotherapists, right. And so we have a hypnotherapy training and internship program. This is our 49th year of operation, and so we've been here a long time. The Institute was founded in 1968 by my uncle and my father, Drs. John and Alex Kappas. So I've been here a long time as well. And we have done really primarily one thing and one thing only, and that is study the subconscious mind, subconscious behavior, and subconscious motivation. So tonight we're going to talk about success, happiness, and prosperity as it relates to the subconscious mind and how we can get this powerful tool, the subconscious mind, working for us in our lives to help us achieve these things. The Mental Bank program was developed here by my father, Dr. John Kappas, in the early 80s to assist us in our work with people, with individuals. We've estimated we worked with 500,000 individuals in our 49-year history, all with really the same goal. How do they get their subconscious mind working for them to help them achieve their goals? And so tonight we're going to introduce you to this product that was of my father's work, and it's called the Mental Bank Program. It's a program that takes 2 to 5 minutes a night, and we'll have you started tonight. We want you to get started. We want to give you all the tools and everything you're going to need to start tonight and get this thing working in your lives immediately. Now, I'm assuming everybody would be okay with a little extra success, happiness, prosperity. That's all right? All right. So, you know, I like to kind of start out with a little shock value and say, how many people would like to make twice as much money than they're making now? Everybody? Be a little happier, maybe, their relationships, be a little more successful in their careers. All right, so here it comes. The real answer is you don't. You don't want to make more money. You don't want to be happier in your relationships, and you don't want to be more successful in your careers. I'm about to introduce you to the most powerful force in human behavior. Homeostasis. Okay? Homeostasis. And what is homeostasis? It's the innate drive to stay the same. Okay? The innate drive to stay the same. And why is this such a big deal? Well, homeostasis is necessary on every level of our lives for us to be alive. Okay? What are some of the things that you absolutely need to stay the same in order to live? Blood flowing would be good. We like to keep that going the same. Breathing would be a nice thing. Our heart pounding at a certain rate, kind of a consistent rate, would be a good thing. Even our blood sugar maintains our consciousness and our functioning. There's so many things that we need to stay the same. And it's obvious to us on a physiological level, but what you don't realize is on a sociological and psychological level, it's the same thing. Right? That we need our personalities to be endearing and lifelong. Have you ever had a friend that may be a childhood friend, and then you went your separate ways, but you see each other, I don't know, every 10 years, every 20 years? So I have a friend like that, and I go out to see him. Gosh, it's been 20 years since I saw him last, but before that it was 10 years, and so we were like best friends in 5th grade, and then we went away, and then we shared an apartment, our first apartment together after high school, you know, significant moments. And when I do go to see him, our lives have gone in such different directions. He lives in a rural area, and it's just a different lifestyle, and we've been apart so many years. And I'll go out there, and he'll come pick me up, and I'll see him walking towards me, you know, at the airport, and I'll think, oh my God, what have I done? You know, I don't know this guy. I mean, we've barely spoken in the last 20 years, and his life is so different, and I'm here committed for the weekend. I'm going to stay at his house, and what if we don't have anything to say? And the fact of the matter is, before we get to his house, it's like no time has passed at all. Because ultimately, I haven't really changed. He hasn't really changed. We have the same base personalities, and that's what allows us to form societies and communities. I mean, going all the way back through evolution, you know, to be a tribe, you got to know who's who in the group, in the village, and you got to know, oh, this is the honest one, and oh, this is the not honest one, and this is the brave one, and this is the one you want to go to battle with, and this is the one you don't want to leave home with your wife. I mean, you got to know all of these people, right? And so relying on them to stay the same, we would never be able to function as a group. We would have never been able to evolve if we couldn't function as a group. And it is just in us, deep, at every level. Yet, what do people want? Change, right? They always want change. They want to be a little more of this and a little less of that. Yeah? And we have this conscious mind that thinks and that talks to us. And as far as we're concerned, it's running the show. It's making every decision that we have. And that's an illusion. Okay? And again, what we are about, what we have chosen to focus on for all of these years that we've been here is the subconscious mind, the part of your mind that you don't think about, the part of your mind that you don't think is there, the part of your mind that's doing a lot of work behind the scenes, making a lot of decisions. How many of you drove a car to get here tonight? Everybody? It's Los Angeles? Sure. All right. Here's the first experiment for you, okay? I want you to remember something that happened for some of you a very long time ago. Okay? A very long time ago. I want you to remember the first day, the first hour that anyone tried to teach you how to drive a car. Can you remember who it was? Can you remember the car? Can you remember where it was? What parking lot it happened in? And on that day, you had to learn so many new motor skills, right? I mean, even just down to your foot, right, and your ankle. You had to learn to push the gas pedal at just not too hard, but not too soft. And they should have given you a whole day of just learning to control your foot, but they didn't. They go, okay, now there's another pedal, and this one's different than that one. You push this one this hard, and this one that hard, and this one this hard, and this one that hard. Okay? And God forbid you're an old person like myself, there was a third pedal and a little stick. And you had to come out with the foot, the right foot, and in with the left foot, and move the little stick in a funny way, and then out with the left foot, ever so timed with the right foot. And there was this whole timing thing with the feet and the hands. And they go, by the way, your hands must be 10 and 2 the whole time. There's a mirror there, and every once in a while you got to do this, right? It was crazy. They should have given you a week, but I don't think they did, right? I remember teaching my son we were in the parking lot and teaching him all this stuff, and I did the same thing to him. After about 5 minutes, I got bored and go, okay, let's go on the street. He's like, Dad, you're crazy, right? I can't even get it to go right without chugging around. So tonight you drove here. And I can guarantee you that never once did you think about your feet or your ankles or your pedals or your hands or the steering wheel or the mirrors or anything. What were you thinking about tonight? You were probably eating to get here. You were putting on your makeup to get here. You were clearly texting, or you couldn't get here without texting, right? You're texting. If you were on our 405 freeway tonight, you may have been shooting at people to get here. Never once your hands and your feet. And why is that? You already know, I'm sure. Why is that you weren't thinking about your hands and your feet? Because you've done it so many times that it's become automatic. Absolutely automatic. Okay? So what else has become automatic? Okay? Well, let me tell you. It's more than driving a car. Okay? It's the way you sit in the chair. It's the look on your face. The way you walk, the way you smile. Right? And even more important, it's the way you think about life. It's the way you think about men. It's the way you think about women. It's the way you think about success and money and prosperity and relationships. All of those things have become automatic. Lessons you learned so long ago, you don't remember learning them. And you created with each learning experience an opinion. Okay? An opinion is another word for a belief. You created a belief, an opinion about everything. Other people, places, the world, and most importantly, you. You've created an opinion about you. a collection of beliefs about who you are. Right? Who is the only person who knows everything you've ever done, thought, felt, everything you stole, every person you kissed, every lie you told? Who is the only one? You. And where is all that information? In your subconscious mind. So it's got all of these experiences, and from these experiences, it created an opinion, it created beliefs. And it wrote a story, your story, about who you are, what you're worth. And what is homeostasis fighting to protect? That story. That's what it wants to stay the same. That story about who you are. Anyone here remember an old movie called Trading Places with Eddie Murphy, right? About what would happen if you woke up in someone else's life. You know, what would happen if you were of modest means and you woke up one day and you just somehow woke up and took someone's place and you were the billionaire all of a sudden and everyone thought of you that way and everyone treated you that way. And would you change to adapt to the environment, or would you drag everything down to match you? That's the story. That's the question mark of the movie. And interestingly enough, this is played out in real life. When could this play out in real life? When people win the lottery. What's the most likely outcome for people who win the lottery? They lose it all. They lose it all. And why is that? It's because it's not their story. That the subconscious mind is not, it's so non-judgmental. The subconscious mind is what we call binary. It only knows two things. Instead of on and off like a computer, it knows knowns and unknowns. Knowns and unknowns. Unknown is anything that's in your story. Doesn't mean it's good, doesn't mean it's bad. And you know, it could be that you're pretty. It could be that you're happy. It could be that you're miserable. It could be that your life is full of drama and chaos. It doesn't treat it as good or bad. It's just a known. That's my story. And anything that doesn't fit into that story is an unknown, and the mind rejects unknowns. It's afraid of unknowns. It repels unknowns. It's protecting your personality. Anyone here got more than one kid? They got their own personalities, don't they? They pop out with little personalities. They're not the same, and they kind of keep those their whole life. That's who we are. And that's great. We wouldn't be able to love if it wasn't for that. We wouldn't be able to have relationships. If every day you woke up and your partner was a completely different person, there'd be nothing to hold it together. It's the fact that they're the same, even the miserable parts. That's what keeps you reliably miserable. Right? That's who we are as humans. And that's great until you want to do what? Change. And that's what we have, what's called resistance. Okay? Resistance to change. Sabotage, subconscious sabotage. Okay? Because as soon as you start to move out of what's known to your story, your mind treats it as something bad, even if it's a good move. It treats it as an unknown. It repels against it. It fights against it. Does it have a voice that says, hey, I want to get rid of your success? No. It doesn't have the voice. That's your conscious mind that has the voice. It controls your behavior. See, we struggle with this concept called free will. Do we have free will? Do we make our own decisions? Do we control our own lives? And it's been an interesting debate for hundreds of years. Do we control our own lives? Well, there's more research on it now than ever before. Behavioral science has taken a hard look at this question. Do we control our own lives? Because we like to think we do. But we make thousands of decisions a day, including while we're driving the car. And all of those decisions, we're not deciding them consciously. In fact, the vast majority, some behavioral experts estimate that 88% of the decisions you make every single day, you're doing it at a level you're no longer aware of. So that means 88% of your life, you're on autopilot, moving in a direction that you're not aware of. governed by your story. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah? So, you know, there's some interesting concept that comes with this idea, and that is that your subconscious mind has already made up its mind. How much money you're going to earn this year, next year, and the year after that. Your subconscious mind has already decided how happy you're going to be over the course of your life and what your relationships are going to be like. How much of that did you participate in? Very little. Very little, because of a lack of awareness. So you have to know that homeostasis is in effect. This is what we battle against. This is what us as Hypnosis Motivation Institute, this is what we have studied and battled against. Every single client comes in. We basically could boil down what they're coming to us for as they're struggling with homeostasis. They want to change, but the greater part of their mind, the subconscious mind, the part that controls their behavior, their emotions, and their autonomic nervous system doesn't want to change. And that it's the battle between those two wills. So we have to first introduce them to a concept called the subconscious mind. That you have to get to know this thing. You have to make friends with it. You have to realize it's there. And for a long time, even the psychologists and the psychology community fought over whether it was there or not. Freud was one of the major influences that said we have a subconscious mind. Well, today the research that's taking place goes way beyond Freud. Yeah. Let me tell you about a really interesting researcher. His name's John Bard. It's like John Barge from Yale. He's a psychology researcher, and he really wanted to address this issue of free will. Right? Do we have free will? And he designed a kind of an intriguing experimental design. He used a tool called scrambled word association, scrambled word sentences. Right? Scrambled word sentences. And in these scrambled words, he gives people just these words, and they have to put them together into sentences. And that's their task. Here's your scrambled words, make sentences out of them. And the reason he's using this is not to make the sentences or to time them or any of the things that they think they're doing, but to expose them to certain words that will trigger associations. More importantly, that will trigger opinions, biases, and beliefs that they have. So in the first group, he wanted to prove that there was a subconscious mind and that just by stimulating in a very short period of time with just a few words, we could change people's automatic behavior. So he divided a group of people into two groups, gave them scrambled words, and they thought their task was to be timed how long it took them to put the scrambled words together. So they thought it was like an intelligence thing. How long can I take me to figure this out? But it wasn't. They didn't have all the same words. One group had neutral words, kind of random words that were selected not to trigger any obvious biases or opinions. The other group had biased words, and in particular, they were biased towards a concept of being elderly. They were words like gray, wrinkled, Florida, bingo, shuffleboard. And so one group is putting their words together, another group is putting their words together, and they were told, as soon as you're done, come up and turn in your words to the researcher. And they thanked them for their participation, and they left the room, thinking that the study was over. But that's when the study began, when they left the room. Because this was held in a New York high-rise, and they made sure that the research room was a good distance away from the elevator that they would have to leave. And they timed how long would it take them to walk from the research room to the elevator. And the group with the elderly words took significantly longer to walk to the elevator than the group with the neutral words. And when I say significantly, I'm talking about statistically significant, not by chance. So just by moving some words around, those words triggered opinions they had about what it meant to be elderly. And that changed their automatic behavior, changed the way they walked. Now this created quite a stir with Barge's colleagues at Yale, because it really said, how much are we in control of our lives? But there was a number of critics, and one of the things that they wanted to criticize about was that's just how people walk. That's not about decision making. We still make decisions. We still plot our own course. We still, are in control of our direction. So Barge went at it again with the same tool, scrambled word sentences. He just modified it to see if he could affect decisions that people make. And remember, we make thousands of decisions a day. And all the research shows that when we do make a decision, no matter how that decision is made, we justify the decision in our conscious minds so that we made it ourselves. And I'll talk more about that in a bit. So this time they divided them up into 3 different groups, tested them one at a time, and they were told that they would have 2 sets of scrambled word sentences to complete and that they were being timed, and that timing was important. So as soon as you're done with your first set, come up, give it to the researcher, they'll check it in, they'll mark your time, and then they'll give you the next set, you go, you do that, you come in, check in your second set, and mark your time, and you're done, and you can leave. Okay? What they didn't tell them was that the researcher was playing a role, and the researcher was going to pretend to be distracted from her responsibilities for 10 minutes on a private phone call. So when they would come with their first set of words, instead of checking them in right away and writing down the time like she was supposed to do, she's like, la 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 la, pretending like she doesn't see the person standing there with their words. Now, one group got neutral words. Another group got polite words. And the third group got rude words. And then they charted, well, what decision are they going to make when they're waiting there, knowing it's important, knowing the clock's ticking? They have to make a decision. Do I interrupt this private conversation and say, hey, I need my next set of words? Or do I just wait? Okay? Only 17% of the polite word group made the decision to interrupt, where 63% of the rude word group made the decision to interrupt. Of the neutral words, 37% made the decision to interrupt. Okay? So from 17% to 63%, with nothing more than 10 minutes of moving words around. So clearly, our subconscious can be affected, and our beliefs and our opinions can be affected and triggered, more of triggering a bias, not changing our opinions, but more about triggering the opinions that we already have, can be affected in a very short period of time and can affect decisions that we make. And we make decisions every single day about a lot of things. And the collective outcome of those decisions determines where we end up. We like to think we are in charge of all those decisions. They did research with electric shocks, and they told people, let's see how many electric shocks you can take, and each one would get stronger. And then they did things to manipulate them subconsciously to do more and more shocks. They gave one group a pill and told them this pill will help you to be able to handle more shocks. And it wasn't. It was a placebo. But then when the people that took the pill took more shocks. And when they asked them, well, why did you take more shocks? They didn't. Was it the pill? They're like, no, it's because a long time ago I was experimenting with electronics and I got used to electricity, so I think I'm more tolerant than other people. None of that had anything to do with anything. It was because they thought they were taking something that would make them more tolerant. See? So even when we don't make decisions consciously, we think we make the decision consciously. We find out, we sort of tell ourselves a story how we were in charge of that decision. So there's all these unconscious decisions that we make. And we have a story. And our subconscious wants to stick to that story. And that story dictates almost every decision we make because it dictates who we think we are, what we think we are. So the first step in overcoming homeostasis is accepting that we have homeostasis. Accepting the fact that we really don't want to change. That while making more money sounds better, being happier seems like a good thing, more success can only taste great, but subconsciously we sabotage it. We resist it. And the more that becomes a conscious known, the more in control we have of it. Now I got good news and bad news about your subconscious mind controlling your fate. I got good news and bad news about homeostasis. Which do you want first? Bad news first? All right. Well, think of it this way. If your story is dictating your outcome, okay, there's two ways to look at this. You can look at it very behaviorally, like we're just these behavioral monsters, and we just, we make decisions, and it's all based on subconscious programming and subconscious learning. And then there's another way to look at it, and I can't really tell you which is the absolute right way to look at it. I think maybe a blend of the two, or I think some people like one way and some people like another way. But another way to look at it is, what if our subconscious was like a generator, generating a signal? And it sends this signal to a universe. And the universe, without any judgment, delivers exactly what the signal asks for. So the signal is your story. The story says, this is who I am, this is how much I'm worth, this is how I act in relationships. And the universe says, okay, there you go. Here's somebody who will help you fulfill that exact story. Here's a job to help you fulfill that exact story. And so everything that happens to you is a result of your signal, which means you create everything in your life. The good luck and the bad luck, right? The success and the drama. That all of it is you asking the universe for drama or success just to fulfill your story. It's like when you wreck your car and then you can't go out and look for a job, and then or you break your leg and now you can't do this. All of that is the signal you're sending to your universe. Now, why that's bad news is no one wants to take responsibility for the bad luck. We'd love to say, oh, that's out there, that bad luck. But have you known anyone that's got a dark cloud following them around, raining on them consistently? And on the other hand, you know anyone who just everything turns to gold, right? So, there's some merit to this concept as well. I had a brother-in-law who once said about me, he's the kind of guy that can fall into a vat of shit and come out smelling like a rose, every time. And my answer is, I just wish I didn't have to fall in the vat of shit first, right? And why can't I just skip that part? But I don't, right? Nobody's immune. We all have a past. And I'm not saying blame your parents. They had a past too, and they had little say-so in their upbringing as well, in those experiences. But so much of what we learn and believe happens to us in the first 8-10 years of our life, about this opinion that we form. Not that we stop learning, but that's a big part. We're wide open. So what's your starting line? You can't run a race if you don't know what the starting line is. So who would like to know what their homeostatic level of prosperity is? Because I can tell you. How about, what is your homeostasis? What does your story say about your level of happiness? Anyone care? Right? Here's the answer. It's very simple. If you want to know what your story about prosperity, success, and happiness is, just look at where you're at today. What are you doing? How's your relationships? How's your success? How's your prosperity? That's the result of your story. And the more you can embrace that, the better equipped you are to do something about it. You can't go back and change it, but to know what your story is so powerful. There's so much that we learn early in life. When I was a kid, I encourage, and by the way, your story kind of creeps up on you. Once you realize how much your story is playing out every single day of your life, you start thinking about it over time, and you start remembering things. And I remember some things. I remember being a 9-year-old Cub Scout with my little uniform on, right? And with that little uniform on, without any planning or intention or, it just sort of happened, I arsoned a building to the ground on Sepulveda Boulevard. And I sat there in my little Cub Scout uniform and watched it burn. It didn't just burn to the ground, it caught the house next to it on fire as well. Luckily that didn't burn to the ground, but this was a commercial building that burned to the ground. And I sat there and watched it burn, and I didn't know why I did it. I barely got out of it. Someone saw me and the police questioned me, and I was just I just looked so innocent, you know. They let me go. And I never knew why I did it until later. Because it wasn't more than, I don't know, maybe 3 months, 4 months after that my mom sat me down and said, listen, your mom and your dad are getting a divorce. Okay? And we're going to go live somewhere else. I didn't know they were even having problems. Everything seemed fine to me. No one told me they were thinking about that. They didn't fight. They didn't yell. He wasn't there a lot, but, you know, they weren't happy. I didn't know that consciously. But when I think about why I burned that building down for no reason, I think it was because of that. Like, I was feeling all kinds of stuff. I didn't know what it was about. I just knew I felt like burning something down. Right? We learn, we're like a sponge. So then my mom and I get, kind of banished to Orange County, in the 60s, which was, if you've been in Orange County in the 60s, it was pretty desolate. And we go there. She had a girlfriend who lived there. And this girlfriend said, hey, not too far from my house, there's a community for single parents, single moms. Right? It was a block long, both sides of the street, just all little 2-bedroom, right next to a schoolyard. And it was almost exclusively for single parents. And so my mom went and looked at it, and I remember the guy showed us, and I just saw the schoolyard, I saw the kids, I said, oh, Mom, we gotta live here, man, we gotta live here. And she's like, well, we'll see, and we looked at it, it was cute, and had a little patio, and she said, so, how much? And he told her, $125 a month. Right? And she said, I knew it. And he said, what? And she goes, we can't afford it. And I was like, And he goes, are you sure? He goes, yeah, I'm just, we come from a Greek family. My mom never worked a day in her life till she got divorced. She had to, learn how to get her first job. And when you don't think about your mom that way, but, it was a long time ago, and I think she was kind of cute. And I think the guy kind of liked her. And he said, you know what? Hold on a minute. I might be able to help you out. He said, it's not ready yet, but let me take you over and show you another unit. Okay? Don't worry, it's dirty and it needs paint and blah, 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 but that's all going to happen. Took us across the street, showed us another unit. And he said, this one's only $75 a month. And she said, how come? He says, I'll show you. And when you opened the front door, and there was the vents from the dryers of the laundry room faced our front door. So everyone else had a nice little patio. We opened the door and got the hot air blowing at the hot. He said, that's why. She said, we'll take it. Okay? And we lived there, and I loved living there. And, in the 60s, to have a divorced parents wasn't so accepted, And rather than be the only one with divorced parents, I lived in a place where everybody was divorced parent. Like nobody had a dad that lived with them, And it was comforting to me, And there was a new establishment, a restaurant that opened up in our neighborhood called Shakey's Pizza. It was brand new. I understand it's kind of on the way out now, but it's brand new. And it was different. There were no waiters, and there was no menu, and you just ordered. You sat down at benches, and you sat anywhere you wanted, and there was a player piano, and there was, of course, in our neighborhood, kids everywhere, and it was packed, and it was fun. And my mom said, you want to have an adventure? And I said, yeah. She says, we're going to play a game. She took me to Shakey's Pizza. I said, oh, we're going to have pizza. And she goes, no, we're going to play a game. I said, what's the game? She goes, all right, well, we're just going to hang out here, and we're going to wait for people to leave. And as soon as they leave, we're going to go sit in their seats and see if they left any pizza. Okay? And then we'll get to eat all different kinds of pizza. And we did. We got to eat a slice here, half a slice there, pineapple, all this different stuff. And we'd be there for 3-4 hours before we got enough pizza. And we would go, and I loved it. She called it Shakey's Night. And I would ask her, Mom, is it Shakey's Night yet? She'd say, not yet. Right? But it's coming. And I loved it. But how do you think my mom felt about Shakey's Night? I didn't realize that till I was an adult myself. And one day it dawned on me, man, she must have been like in a panic attack. She didn't have enough money for us to eat. She was waiting for that next paycheck. I didn't know that. But do we absorb things? I remember once I confessed to my mom that me and my friends had done something bad. She goes, what? I go, well, you know, we had what's called a day-old bakery in our neighborhood, where after it was too old to be in the store, it goes to the day-old bakery. It was a Hostess bakery. Well, I got news for you. After it's too old to be in the day-old bakery, it goes in the dumpster. And we figured out how to scale that fence and get in that dumpster after hours. And we all came home with boxes of Ho-Hos and Ding Dongs. Right? And I revealed to my mom my stash of Ho-Hos and Ding Dongs. And I said, I'm so sorry, Mom. She goes, no, let's put these in the refrigerator, right? We lived off Ho-Hos and Ding Dongs for a long time. I remember it wasn't until decades later I ate my first fresh Ho-Ho. I spit it out. It tasted so weird. It was all mushy. The chocolate didn't flake off. You know, and I never thought ever that any of that affected me. And later in life, my mom, remarried, and we moved to a different neighborhood and lived in a house, you know. And my stepdad, bless his soul, they were married for a long time, 30 plus years. And anyway, my mom got cancer, and my stepdad took care of her. I mean, like, took care of her in the living room, 4 years, changed her, wiped her, fed her, you know. And so my son was little at the time, you know, he's about 7 or 8 or so, and I thought, well, he should be a part of some of that. You know, see, not like every day, but we would drive out there and we'd spend a few days and a few weekends, and then near the end, we would spend more time to help my stepdad. And I remember I took him out there, and we were out there for about a little over a week one time, and at that point, she's just sleeping all the time, so there wasn't a lot of interaction, and my stepdad said to us, how long has it been since you've been out of this house? I said, I don't know. You know, I don't think we've left since we've been here. And he goes, well, you need to get out of the house. You know, you and LJ, you just get out of the house. And I'm like, well, where are we supposed to go? I mean, we haven't lived here. I haven't lived here in forever. I don't feel like I know people and I know where. He says, just drive around. I said, all right. So we get in the car, and my son's like, so what are we going to do, Dad? We're just going to drive around in circles? You know, that seems pretty boring and blah, blah, blah. And I said, I don't know. I go, you want to go see where your dad grew up when I was exactly your age? And he's like, okay. So I could remember, and I drove over to get there, and I remember driving, and, you know, I was sort of vaguely aware that the neighborhood is changing, and I remember going over the railroad tracks, and I remember going past the boys' club, and I remember going past, you know, all the little landmarks, and I pull up there, and I find our little unit, you know, facing the laundry room, and I park, and I said, there it is, that's where I grew up. I said, come on, let's get out of the car, we'll walk around, I'll show you where I did things, I built forts, and blah, blah, blah. And I go to get out of the car, and he locks the door. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, Dad, I'm not getting out of that car. I said, why not? He's Dad, look at this place. I'm like, what? Nothing wrong with this place. He goes, Dad, I'm not getting out of the car. And I sat there, and I'm thinking, what is wrong with this kid, you know? And I started thinking about it. This is not his script. This is not his story, right? He's going to private school in Calabasas. He's not playing on the railroad tracks. This is an unknown to him. And as much as I wanted to show him that neighborhood, I said, all right, it's fine. And we left. Right? And later it started hitting me, how much of that story is still in me? How much is it holding me back? I remember when my mom and dad were still married. My dad, you know, while he was trying to get the Hypnosis Institute started, which, you know, wasn't paying a lot of bills in the 60s, he did the jukebox business at night. Right? And I remember when he used to come home late at night because he'd go around to all the clubs and bars and do his, collect the money. And I remember he came home one night and there had been a shooting in our apartment building, a big shooting, 6 people killed in our apartment building. And so there was, like, you know, cop cars everywhere. I mean, he drives up and he sees just lights and cop cars everywhere around our building, and he ducks down and races away. And he goes to a payphone and calls my mom. Are they looking for me? My mom's like, no, you idiot, they're not looking for you. Well, I mean, there's a shooting in the building. They get home and protect us, So what was he up to that he thought maybe there'd be 50 cop cars looking for him? I mean, sounds like guilty conscience to me. And what does an 8-year-old Cub Scout absorb from that? How much of that sticks and you don't even know it's there? Right? And that's what this is about. That we have this rich history, most of which we don't even remember. And it's affecting every single decision we make. It's sending a signal to the universe saying, here's exactly what I'm worth. This is exactly how I want to be treated. And the universe complies. It just delivers. So, my dad had his own upbringing, and so did my mom. My dad, was a kid in the Depression with immigrant parents in the inner city of Chicago. I was born above my grandfather's store in Greektown, Chicago. And, and he had his own script that he was struggling with. So it's not about blaming anybody. It's about just owning it, Because there's good parts and bad parts to have in that background. I mean, it gives you empathy. It helps you understand other people. You know what it's like to struggle. I was talking to my son just today, and he told me, Dad, I'm feeling defeated right now. Feeling really defeated and hopeless. And I said, yeah, I know that feeling. That feeling sucks. That old story telling you this is who you are. I know that. So maybe that's what motivated my dad to want to be a subconscious behaviorist, to study the subconscious mind, to figure out how he was being held back in his relationships and everything else. And when he was working with clients, one of the biggest restriction he felt, limitation he felt, was he only got to see them 1 hour a week, his clients. So for 1 hour a week, he created this hypnotic state, this highly receptive, highly suggestible, vulnerable period where their subconscious beliefs were subject to modification and enhancement. And he would try and change that story in that highly suggestive state that we called hypnosis. And then the hour would end, and they go back out in the world, and the world would give them a lot of different messages, opposite to what he was giving them. And he said, well, it's unfair. I only get them for 1 hour a week. He wished there was a way he could sneak around to their houses and see them all before they went to bed, hypnotize them every day. Right? Life gives us messages. And he said, well, how can I deliver a different story every single day to their subconscious mind? And he created a program, and he used it with his clients. And it evolved, and he developed, and he would experiment, and he took everything he knew about how to affect the subconscious mind, everything he knew about hypnosis, hypnotherapy, and he formulated this tool that he was creating, this tool to accentuate and supplement what he was doing as a hypnotherapist, and he eventually called it the Mental Bank Program. And he was doing it with his clients, teaching them this. So he would hypnotize them, and he would send them home with this tool to do in between the sessions. And he had a couple of clients that were in the sales business, and they were in a particular industry or particular company called the Amway Corporation. Ever heard of the Amway Corporation? And it was sort of a downstream networking kind of thing, right? And they were upstream. They had hundreds and hundreds of people under them. They were high ups. They made a lot of money. And they told them, John, since we've been doing this mental bank thing, our incomes have doubled. They go, we need everybody downstream of us to learn this mental bank. We need to get them appointments. You need to hypnotize them. And he's like, hold on a minute. I barely get you in every week. I can only see 40 clients a week, and I'm dead tired with that. There's no way. And they go, well, what if you did it? What if you taught them as a group? Could you do that? And he thought about it. He goes, well, you know, I might be able to do that. He said, okay. He said, you talk to my son George, because I worked in the business. You talk to my son George, and he'll arrange a time for me to teach them as a group. They said, okay. So they came to me, and your dad said to talk to us, and you're going to arrange a group. And I said, okay. So I took them around to the institute, and I said, we have 3 classrooms. This one holds 15 people. This one holds 25 people, and this one holds 50 people. Which one are we going to need to reserve? That'll determine what night I can do this on. How many you got? And they said, 2,000. I said, oh boy. I said, he's not going to want to break them into 50s and see them over and over and over. I said, I'm going to have to get back to you on that. Well, HMI was in Van Nuys at that point. The next day I walked across to Van Nuys High School. I said, hey, do you ever rent out your auditorium? They're like, yeah, we rent it out. And I go, how many people does it hold? They said, 2,000.
Wow.
Yeah. I said, the universe is speaking to me. I said, well, take it. It was really inexpensive at that time. So I booked it, and what I didn't know, I said, hey, Dad, I booked this thing, and I got the time, and here's the night, and here's everything, and so it's all set. He goes, well, how many did you say? I said, 2,000. He goes, George, you don't know what you just did. I go, well, what? He goes, we got a real problem here. I go, what? He goes, well, I have them write in this little book, and at the time, he would make these by hand for each client.
Oh my.
I said, uh-oh. He said, how much time do we have? I said, we have like 2 weeks. He goes, you got 2,000 books to make, George. So I had to order the pieces and the thing, and they had to have these things printed, and and then I had like a team of friends helping me put them together, little 3-ring tiny binders. And we put together boxes and boxes of these things, and the night before, we're putting them together, until we had 2,000 on time for the big day. And he goes in there, and everyone shows up, and the guys from Amway go up and go, listen, this guy doubled our income. He's going to double your income. Just don't just do what he tells you. We're telling you this works. And my dad gets up there and he teaches them the mental bank program. I'd never heard it before. It was strictly what he was doing with his clients. I heard it for the first time on that day. And I liked it. I was like, hey, I could use that, right? So I stole one of the books. And I went home and I started doing my mental bank. Okay? Now I'm a young man, in my early 20s, working for my parents, working for my dad. So I was making, I don't know, $14,000, $15,000 a year. If you ever worked for your parents, you know what I'm talking about. Now at the time, things have evolved. The more we did this, the more we used it, the more we refined it and made it work better and better. So at that time, it was a little different than now. You could just make up any number you wanted and start programming for that number, right? Any amount of money, just made up a number. Now we have more of a behavioral science approach to picking your number. So anyway, I'm making $14,000 a year, and I decided I want to make $200,000. I don't know why 200. Why not 100? A little easier, just didn't make any sense. But I picked $200,000, and I'm doing my mental bank for $200,000, $200,000, $200,000. Now at the time, I'm living in my El Camino, right? So $200,000 was a little bit of a stretch. By the way, I was very happy in that El Camino. Had everything I needed. Okay? And I'm young and free and footloose, as they say. And so I'm doing my mental bank, and I meet a girl, and she was older than I was, and she'd been married before, She had a house, and I'm living in my El Camino, parked in her driveway. And so you can imagine it didn't take long for me to move from the El Camino to the house. And it wasn't a big move. It just meant taking the albums out of the El Camino and putting it in the house, and that was it. I was in. Now this is going to shock some people, some young people. But back in those days, nobody had their own phone. And there was just one phone per house. And it was attached to the wall. You had to stand by the wall to talk. Right? And so anyway, she's got a phone in this house. And that was one more phone than I had. And it had a number. And since I was starting to live there, I thought, well, I should tell people how they could reach me, if they need to reach me. My friends, my parents, and whatever. And so I gave out that phone number and say, here's where I'm staying. Here's the phone number. Here's my new home. And so when it would ring, I thought 50% chance it was for me. Right? So one day it rang. I thought, hey, maybe it's for me. I pick it up and I go, hello? And it's a man. And he goes, who the hell is this? And I said, this is George. Who the hell is this? And he said, I'm her husband. Now they'd been separated for, over a year or more, right? I go, oh. So you want to talk to her? She's like, yes. Okay, right? But hey, it's for you, right? She gets on the phone. I kind of gave her a little privacy, but I could hear, And she's like, well, I don't know what you're so upset about. We've been apart for a long time. What did you think was going to happen? Blah, 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 blah. He didn't like this idea. And he said, we need to finish up whatever paperwork and get this thing done. Right? You've been through this, right? So that takes time, and the whole time I'm $200,000, right? Doing my mental bank for $200,000. Well, it turns out they owned some commercial property together, had to be listed and sold and divided and blah, blah, blah. Long story short, takes, I don't know how long, quite a while, a year maybe for them to wrap up everything. By that time, we are a couple. We have one checking account at this point. We're a couple. And what comes in the mail but a check that I am in charge of the money that I deposited in our account, my account, too. I'll give you one guess how much that check was for. $200,000 exactly. Now, did I deserve that money? Hell yeah, I deserve that money. No. Yeah. No, I did not. Okay? But that's what I got. And you would think, wow, George, that's a great mental bank story. Right? That's a great mental bank story. But it's not the mental bank story. That's the beginning of the mental bank story. So I got the $200,000. Now, that is way out of my script. Way out of my script. Anyway, we ended up, progressing in our relationship, and we got married, and eventually moved in a different house, and blah, blah, blah. And, and we'd take turns paying the bills. I don't know if you do that with your partner, where you get tired of it, and they go, well, I'll do it, and then they do it for a year or two, and then whatever. At one point, she goes, I'm sick of this, and I go, I'll do it, right? And I took over the bills again. And I remember my first night, I got all set up on the little desk and the lamp, and I had the little visor and everything. I'm all official, and I get the bills all out, the checkbook and the calendar, the calculator. And I'm, doing the thing with the checkbook, and I realize there's not enough money in the checking account to pay all these bills. And I start playing that game. Well, okay, this one, we got to send out right away. This guy can wait. This one's got to go. This one can wait. This guy can, whatever. And blah, blah. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. I don't have to play this game. We've got $200,000. Right? No. We don't have $200,000. I'm like, where's the $200,000? We pissed it away. We didn't buy anything big. We didn't go to Europe. We didn't buy a new car. I don't know where that money went. I bought some cowboy boots once. It couldn't have cost $200,000. I don't know where it went. But we didn't have it. That's homeostasis. Yeah? That's resistance. Yeah? You just, something makes it good, and it's too good, you move away. Yeah? So I promised you good news and bad news, right? The bad news is you're responsible for everything that happens, every good thing, every bad thing. Yeah? Bad news is you only go so high before you hit your head on the ceiling of homeostasis, and then you will sabotage yourself. You will go out of your known, out of your comfort zone, and you will make sure that you go down into the area that fits your story, be it happiness, prosperity, or otherwise. You only rise so high before you hit the wall of resistance, and you sabotage. By the way, I didn't finish my story. So anyway, we have no $200,000. And I'm like, oh my God, this is devastating. Devastating. And then I felt guilty. I didn't earn that money. It wasn't my money. I should have protected it for her. I should have taken care of it for her. I'm the man, the whole Greek script thing. I'm supposed to be the head of the family. I'm supposed to, be responsible. And I thought, I'm going to get her that money back. And I started thinking of every way that I could get her that money back. Every way. Now, well, I don't need a gardener. I can mow the lawn myself. There's some money right there. And we don't need that. We don't need to water that lawn out there. We can save some here. And I'm thinking all these things we could do. And I decided I was going to start a video production company that day and start videotaping weddings on the weekends, which I did for years, And I made a list. Now it's midnight. I'm making this list. None of these things can I actually do that night. But there was one thing. I thought, I haven't done my mental bank in a long time. I'm going to go back to doing my mental bank. And I put that on my action list. And of all the things on my list, that was the one and only thing I could actually do that night. So I said, well, you know what? I'm going to start at least that tonight. I know I got an old ledger somewhere in the guest room, the office there. And I go in the room, and I find the old ledger, and it's half filled, but there's plenty of empty pages. I'll use that till I get back to the Institute and get a new ledger. And so I get in bed, and I got the empty page. I'm going to start programming again. I thought, okay, all right, how do I do this? Okay, I remember. And I go to do it, and I go, well, what? Let me just see where I left off. Where did I leave off? I go back one page to the last used page, and now, where did I leave off? The day I deposited the $200,000. I didn't know. I didn't make a decision. I didn't say, oh, I got the $200,000. Let me stop doing the thing that got me the $200,000. There was no thought involved. See, that's how this works. That's how subconscious sabotage works. Okay. So you can only go so high before you hit your head on the ceiling, and then you will sabotage. Right before the biggest change comes the biggest resistance. But there's good news. You want that, right? Yes. You will only go so low. You're going to hit a point where you're going to go, that's unacceptable. That's outside my script too. And then you're going to get motivated and get back into your comfort zone. So you only go so high and you sabotage, you only go so low, and then you get motivated. Now, your low is not the same as my low, your high is not the same as mine. We're all different. But it's going to be consistent. For some people, their low is they can't afford the new Mercedes this year. First year they haven't been able to get a new Mercedes. For other people, it's toothless, homeless, and worse. Right? So we all have a different low. There's some more good news, though, about subconscious mind, about success and subconscious influences. Here's the good news let's talk about making more money. That's a symbol of success. Here's the good news. Working harder is not the secret to financial prosperity. That's good news as far as I'm concerned. The hardest working people in America are the poorest people in America. Okay? So working harder is not your answer. Thank goodness. Here's another one. Being smart is not the secret to success. There are some real rich dumbasses out there. Just turn on the TV. Being nice is not the answer. There's some real rich pricks out there too. Right? Being nice is not the answer. Being good looking is not the answer. There are some really successful ugly people. So what is it? If it's not about being smarter or working harder or being good looking, what is it? Knowns versus unknowns. Okay? It's mindless. When your signal changes, the universe delivers something different. Plain and simple. When the signal changes, the universe delivers something different. So, here's what I have for you. It's called the Mental Bank Program. You know, my father was a very, very successful hypnotherapist. He literally defined the profession of hypnotherapy in the United States of America when he wrote the Federal Dictionary of Occupational Titles for what a hypnotherapist is. He founded the first accredited college of hypnotherapy in the United States. He was profound in this one area of study, and that was subconscious mind. And he created a tool that takes 2 to 5 minutes a night. It's easy. Anyone can do it. 2 to 5 minutes a night. And it will change your signal. It will send messages to your brain that causes you to make different decisions. It'll influence your decisions and your behavior, how you walk, how you talk, how you sit in a chair, just like those scrambled word sentences did, but more. Okay? Those studies came decades after this was created. They just came along and validated exactly why this works. So we came up with this program. We called it the Mental Bank Program, and it really involved a recipe. And we called it the Recipe for Success. So I want to share that with you now. The Recipe for Success. Now, the thing about a recipe is more than the sum of its ingredients, right? So if you had a cake, what's the ingredients of a cake? Sugar, flour, chocolate. So if you had them all in a bowl, and you took a spoon and you went sugar, flour, eggs, and you went, are you going to taste cake? No, it's the synergistic effect. The ingredients have to work with each other to become something other than what they are. So the first ingredient is come to believe. And we say come to believe because we know it's too much to ask you to just believe right now. Believe in this concept that may be foreign to you. And the concept is that we have a subconscious mind, that it makes 88% of our decisions every day, that it's like an autopilot and it's taking us in a pre-prescribed direction, a pre-prescribed destination that's based on our story. And that our story isn't even necessarily true. It's just our perceptions of what happened to us and what we're worth. And that what we want you to come to believe is not only do you have a subconscious mind, but you can influence that subconscious mind. Now that's what hypnotherapy is all about. It's why we're here. And this tool is going to help you influence your subconscious mind to just change the story. And once the story changes, the signal changes. So we want you to come to believe that you have a subconscious and that it's sending a signal. And if you change the signal, the universe will deliver something different, whether you deserve it or not. Okay? All right. 2. Here, another important ingredient, daily reinforcement. Daily reinforcement. How often does life happen? Daily. Right? How often does history happen? Daily. Okay? So every day your life is sending a signal to you. Every day your life is reinforcing your story, your opinions, your beliefs about who you are, what you're worth. Think about this story. Let's say you wake up in your shitty little apartment, your shitty little relationship laying next to you. You get in your shitty little car, you drive to your shitty little job, they pay you a shitty little paycheck, you put it in your shitty little bank account, and you pay your shitty little bills, and you go back to that shitty little apartment. What's your life telling you about tomorrow? More shit coming tomorrow. So what do we want to do instead? We want to send a different signal every single day so you start expecting something different every single day. We want your subconscious mind to start changing its story. So every single day, we send a signal because we've come to believe that if we can change our subconscious signal, the universe will deliver something different. Number 3, we have to talk to that subconscious mind in a language that it understands and that it responds to. And that's symbolic language. That's what we do. We're hypnotherapists. People go to school here specifically to learn how to talk to people's subconscious minds. And we tell them, everybody's different. You can't talk to the subconscious like you talk to the conscious. That's the whole study to becoming a hypnotherapist. So we know about this. So he created a symbolic language to communicate to your subconscious mind, something that it's going to respond to. And it's really 2 parts. One is digital, 1, 2, 3, 4, using numbers. He felt the subconscious mind was very digital in nature. It responded to numbers. It knows that 4 is twice as many as 2. Right? And he also used this, a symbol of success in our society. Now, people are doing mental bank around the world. They just use whatever symbol their culture puts out there in terms of their monetary value. But this is ours. So you don't have to use mental bank just to make more money, but you still use the symbol of money to represent success. You can use this tool to change any given thing. Make more money, be a better golfer, stick to your diet, be a better husband, better father, to get sober. That's it. You can use it for any purpose. I want to be clear about that because people come away and go, oh, you can only use it to make more money. No, you can use it for any purpose. This is just a symbol, a language that we're going to talk to our subconscious minds on a daily basis because we've come to believe that if you change your signal, the universe will deliver something different. Ideomotor response. The next ingredient. Ideomotor response is what we call a backdoor to your defense mechanisms, meaning that your subconscious mind is protecting you. The homeostasis is in effect. It's trying to block anything that doesn't fit your knowns, but there are back doors. You know, like computer code, there's back doors to code, and there's back doors to a lot of things where you get past the defenses. Ideomotor response is a back door to the subconscious mind, back door to get past the defense mechanisms and homeostasis. Now, in its day, this was developed in the late 70s, early 80s. There weren't any computers. Can you believe that? There weren't any computers. I remember I was sitting there watching Wizard of Oz, you know, on the VCR. That tells you how old this was, with my kid. And I tell him, you know, when I was a kid, it only came on once per year. And if you missed it, you missed it. For the whole year. He's, oh, Dad, that's ridiculous. I go, no, it's not. He goes, why wouldn't you just record it? I'm like, never mind. So a backdoor, I don't know what that do with your motor response, but a backdoor to your defense mechanisms. Okay? So I know. So back then, handwriting was our backdoor. Handwriting. See, we still teach handwriting analysis here at the college. We use handwriting analysis to get a snapshot of people's subconscious behavior and personalities. Their personality and their subconscious behavior is revealed in their handwriting. That's why you can't completely duplicate another person's handwriting, because you're not controlling all of those fine motor movements. I mean, yeah, I could forge my mom's signature but pretty well by the 6th grade, but I couldn't do a whole letter, right? Because that's just too hard. Our signatures are unique. They're like our fingerprints. So not only does personality come out in this handwriting, but it also goes in. My father was intrigued by a concept called graphotherapeutics, where by changing your handwriting, you change your personality, you change your behavior. So it's a two-way street. And that's how he decided to use, that's the ideomotor response he chose in the 80s, was handwriting. In fact, you know, that's been my signature for a long time. I'm working on this. Why am I working on that? I want to be more accessible. I want to be more transparent. I want to be more accessible to people, to relationships in my life. This is not accessible. So graphotherapeutics, he believed in the power of the ideomotor response as a backdoor past defense mechanisms. So he created this part of the formula was handwriting, and you handwrite in this little book. And so for decades, that's what the mental bank was. Well, shit has changed. My son can't really handwrite at all. They're talking about not teaching handwriting in schools. My son's been using a keyboard since he's 2 years old. And so if you write all day, that's how you rewire your brain to be your main ideomotor response. But if you're a keyboard all day, you're wiring your brain for that to be your main ideomotor response. If you can type without looking at those keys, it's an ideomotor response. And if you're using the keyboard all day and you're handwriting once a month, once a week, or never, then your brain is wired for this to be your dominant ideomotor response. Or if you're old school, you don't use a keyboard. My father never, ever used a keyboard his entire life. He always used the handwriting. Okay? So now we have two versions, the handwritten one and we have the keyboard one. Okay? So you have to decide, what do I do most in my life? What's my predominant wiring in my brain? If it's the keyboard, then use the keyboard. If it's a pencil and paper, use this. For me and some of my older friends, we have a stone and a chisel one too. So ideomotor responses, again, either handwriting or the keyboard. All right. Number 5, magic 30 minutes. Magic 30 minutes. What's that about? Well, hypnosis is not a foreign state. Hypnosis is natural. You experience hypnosis every single day of your life. As a hypnotherapist, we don't create anything unusual in you. We trigger a response that you already have. We trigger the hypnotic state, the hypnotic reflex, if you will. And there's a whole skill about how we do that and what creates it and how we trigger it differently in each person. But nonetheless, it's natural. And that you're going to go in hypnosis multiple times a day, every single day of your life. You're just not going to know it because it's not like you don't black out, you don't pass out, you're still walking around. Okay? But there's one time where we're absolutely sure that you're going to be in hypnosis. And that's right before you go to bed at night. You can't go to sleep without going to hypnosis first. Hypnosis is the natural transition from wakefulness to sleep. So we know, and we call this the magic 30 minutes, that before you go to bed, generally within this period of time, loosely, it's not a hard and fast, but within somewhere in this period of time, you're transitioning into the hypnotic state. So we're going to take advantage of that. Again, his biggest frustration was he couldn't hypnotize his clients every day, but he knew they were going to hypnosis every day. So during that naturally occurring hypnotic state, he used a backdoor pass-through defense mechanisms to deliver a symbolic language on a daily basis, because he came to believe that if you can change the signal, the universe will deliver something different. Precognitive dreams. Precognitive dreams. By the way, we offer a variety of classes to the public. We have one on dream therapy. I highly recommend it if you haven't had it already. Anybody? Been there already? A couple people? Good. So, precognitive dreams. You're going to learn in that class that we have a variety of dream experiences throughout the night. We don't dream all night long. We dream in stages, and different stages have different purposes. The middle stage of the night, you're having what's called precognitive dreams. And this is where you're predicting your future. You're predicting your future in the precognitive stages of dreams. Another way of thinking about it is it's like, anyone here know a little bit about horse racing? Ever heard of a thing called handicapping a race? Okay. Let me tell you a little bit about horse racing. Okay? My family, for whatever reason, has been drawn to the weird school business. Weird school number 1? HMI College of Hypnotherapy. Why? Believe me, growing up as a kid, telling your friends what your parents did, it was kind of a weird thing to say. But that wasn't the only weird school. For a decade, they also ran a jockey school just outside the Los Angeles area, and they trained jockeys. Okay? We had a big ranch out there and a racetrack with an electric gate, and we trained jockeys, and I got to work as a young man at the jockey school, which was pretty much 90% girls under 100 pounds. It was a great job. It was a great job. So anyway, here's what I learned. We had race horses. I got to live at the track for a period of time. And here's what I learned. You can't show up at the racetrack with a horse and say, I want to race this horse in the third race. He's really fast. They're not going to do that. And you say, why not? They go, we don't know your horse. Well, his name's Ed. Well, that's not good enough. See, they got to know everything about your horse. They got to know the day it was born. They got to know who its parents were and their whole history. They got to know every race it's ever ran. They've got to know the first race. What race? Was it dirty? Was it muddy? Was it dusty? How much did the jockey weigh? Who did they run against? How to do? They got to know every race it's ever run and every horse it's ever run against. They got to have all that history before you're allowed to race. Because when they have all that history, they can predict with reasonable accuracy who's going to be first, second, and third. And they set the odds accordingly. They always come out ahead at the end of the day. Okay? It's not magic. It's statistics. Well, our brains only know two things, knowns and unknowns. What's the future? Unknowns. And how does the brain feel about unknowns? Hates unknowns. It tries to make it a known. It tries to predict the future. What does it base that prediction on? The past. How often does history occur? Daily. Every single day. So every single day, it takes what happened to you that day, and it says, based on what happened to me this day, how people looked at me, how they treated me, everything happening, do I need to change my opinion about myself? Do I need to change the story that I have about my life? Or do I just going to confirm, yeah, it's all still the same? Okay? So every single day, it's considering small adjustments in the story. So he wanted to take advantage of this. This is what hypnotherapy is all about. We put in suggestive ideas that end up taking hold in the precognitive dream stages of our clients. And we start changing their story on a subconscious level, because when that story changes, the signal changes, and the universe delivers something different. So he wanted to say, well, on those other 6 days when I'm not hypnotizing him, how can I deliver to this story? And he does it through the mental bank. Okay? He wants to deliver into the precognitive dream. He wants to take the most vulnerable time of your day, use a backdoor to your defenses, deliver a symbolic language every single day, so he could drop into these precognitive dreams who you are and how you need to adjust your expectations, how you need to adjust this story. That you better prepare for something different. Because once this story changes, we've come to believe that the signal changes and the universe delivers something different. So this is the recipe. And what the mental bank does, it takes all of these ingredients and puts them together ingeniously, seamlessly. It mixes and molds. It blends. The thing about the mental bank is it blends fact and fiction so well. We're telling a fictitious story, but we're mixing it with so many realities that the subconscious mind starts accepting the two as equals. And it starts going into that precognitive dreams, and we start changing our signal, our belief. We're not aware of it. We don't feel anything. Here's how the mental bank works. And here's what we believe generally about change. How you get past homeostasis. Only one way past homeostasis is called incremental change. If you change too fast, what happens? Sabotage. Ever heard of a transformational weekend? What happens in 30 days? Right? So incremental change, that's what's permanent, that's lasting change, that's permanent change. And I'm not talking about, it took you 30, 40, 50 years to get here. It's not going to take another 30, 40, 50 years, but it takes a little time. We want you to think of like a barrel, a big barrel filled with water to the top, big barrel. And every time you do the mental bank during the most vulnerable period, through the ideomotor, delivering symbolic language every single day, you drop in your precognitive stage of dreams. It's like taking one smooth, small pebble and going over to the barrel of water and dropping it in the barrel. Now you drop one pebble in that barrel, Anything going to happen? No. You see anything happen? Barrel going to look any different? You see any water come out? No, nothing happens. And then next day you put another pebble and another pebble and another pebble, and you never, ever, ever experience any change. Until one day you put the pebble in and you hear click. What happened? Water's gone. Where'd it go? I don't know. Never saw it, never felt it, but it's gone. The mental bank is one of those things where you do it, you go along, and you look back, and you realize, I'm in a different place than I was. That's incremental change. The minute you feel it changing, look out. It's better you don't feel anything. Better you just look back retrospectively and go, I'm in a completely different place than I was. That's our goal. So we're going to teach you this. It can take 2 to 5 minutes a night. Okay? Now, for everybody here, you registered online. We own you. And we have delivered to your hypnosis.edu homepage your mental bank ledger online. We do believe that most of you are going to be keyboard people. Okay? So you already got your mental bank ledger online. If you're not a keyboard person, if you need the chisel and the stone, we're going to take a little break. There is a front office, the very front entrance. You can purchase one of the paper ones, and then you can have both. Okay? And you can figure out which one you like best. Okay? So we encourage that. There's also the book, Success is Not an Accident, written by Dr. John Kappas in the 80s. It sort of just supports what we're talking about and gives you the history and some stories of his clients that he worked with. This is the one that you'll actually be using every single day, or again, you're all set to go home and work on your online ledger starting tonight. Let's take 15 minutes, get a little breath, let's use the restrooms, get some water, and we come back, I'm going to show you exactly how to do the mental bank in the 2 to 5 minutes a night that it takes.
Well, tonight we have a great ceremony. We have dinner, we have dancing. All of the graduates from HMI have had just such a wonderful time, and their honors and awards that they've received, distance education students and in-person students. This has been such a good time.
Yeah.
So thank you so much,
Thank you.
Congratulations to you.
I'm graduating tonight, and I'm very excited. It's been a wonderful year at HMI, and I've learned such a tremendous amount. I love all the people. All the instructors are phenomenal, and I'm just having a great time.
And I have the beautiful Alexa and Kendra.
My name is Robbie Whitehead. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I am a graduate today.
The atmosphere, the students, the staff, just so unbelievably wonderful to be around, and it's just everyone and anyone should go there.
This is my good friend Brian, coming all the way from Apple Valley, distance education student.
I came here for healing, I came here for growth, I came here for friendship, and I got that and so much more.
Definitely the best hypnosis program that I've seen, that I've heard of, and my clients, I mean, they're just I'm so grateful.
I have not only learned a new career, I have found my passion in life. I have made friends who are now colleagues, and most of you I consider family. I don't know what I would do without you.
I moved here on the belief not just about hypnotherapy, but utilizing it to help change veterans' lives like myself. But if you ever think about the journey's too far, it's not. I came all the way from Texas, and people all around the world come to this school, and it changes your life, and it's well worth the journey. So don't be afraid and just go for it.
My name is Bob Tracy, and I'm from Virginia Beach.
Peter Kreiser, Waterford, Connecticut.
My name is Andres McAllister. I live in Washington, D.C.
My name is Rocio Satterfield, and I'm originally from Costa Rica.
Well, when I originally started, I was in Apple Valley and commuting about 2.5 hours each way. And then after about 6 months, I was like, it's probably time to move out here. And it's just been an amazing journey, and I've gotten to meet so many wonderful people, and I love this school. It's the best school.
I'm Margarita Tortajada, and I'm from Pensacola, Florida, originally from Russia. I'm very happy to be part of this wonderful celebration and study with HMI students here. It's truly a pleasure, and finally meet everyone.
Finally meet everybody, yes.
HMI has been truly a life-changing experience.
And I am so grateful to be a part of this community with each and every one of you. You guys offer an unparalleled education that cannot be matched, and you do everything in your power to give us the tools that we need to succeed, and I cannot thank you enough for that.
HMI graduates.
I have been suffering for years. I cannot continuously take a sleeping pill every night to go to bed.
The pain that I'm experiencing is so debilitating that it's ruining my life.
My anxiety was getting, worse and worse at work. It was really problematic that I had this anxiety at these meetings.
The pain is evident all day long with every movement. It's nonstop. It's like a stabbing spasm pain that won't go away.
I have a condition called tinnitus.
I have the condition called tinnitus.
I've gone to a psychologist, psychiatrist, ear, nose, and throat specialist, and they've told me that there's nothing wrong with me.
What if it gets so loud that I can't hear the birds and the wind and even the cars outside and my cat's meow? What's going to happen to me if I can't hear that anymore? I don't know what to do.
Okay, welcome back. We're going to talk about how to do the Mental Bank program, how to take that recipe for success and put it into action. Couple of question that came up at break, and maybe you have some others before we start. Someone said, well, I'm a little confused about the ideomotor response. How do you tell someone's personality from the way they use a keyboard? You don't. What we meant to say is that it's a backdoor ideomotor response to your subconscious mind. So it's really about putting information in through your past your defense mechanisms, but you're not revealing your personality by the way you type, per se, like you do with handwriting. Okay? Any other questions about the recipe or anything else? Talk about odd little things, about ideomotor. I once, this stuff's been around for thousands and thousands of years. By the way, we have a great free program online called Hypnosis in History. It talks about the history of hypnosis from the ancient Egyptians to present. It's just been around in every culture, in every society. And anyway, I ran across this guy once, and I was staying in in the woods in this cabin in Seattle, and we all had corn on the cob, and then he read everybody's cob and read their personality by how they chewed their cob. And again, but everyone chewed their cob differently, and it was so fascinating, and it made so much sense. It was so logical, So ideomotor response, there's a lot of different types of ideomotor response. Okay. All right, so let's talk about how we're going to do the mental bank. How many people opted for the stone tablet and the chisel? Okay. All right, good, good. So we're going to use this as our learning tool. Just know that the online works just ever so slightly differently, but it's more, it prompts you. It almost tells you how to do it. So we'll be covering how to do it in the paper one, and the online one will just be easier than that, okay? So that's what we'll be talking about tonight. So on the first page of your first page of your Mental Bank ledger, your hard copy ledger, there's a little thing called Getting Started. And here's how the Mental Bank works. You're going to start a business called your Mental Bank. You are the proprietary or the boss of this business, but you're also the sole employee of this business. And you're going to pay yourself per hour to do the things that will accomplish your goals. You're going to pay yourself mental bank money, but you're going to pay this fantasy money for reality events that you do. So the more we get into this, the more we see the whole beauty of this, it's going to fuse fantasy and reality. Okay? So we have just a couple of learning points to get through. This is a very easy thing. You can't screw this up. Don't get worried about, it's really easy. Let's make it as easy as possible. And let's just talk about, here's what it says in the book. Congratulations on the start of your mental bank. These instructions are designed to supplement the text. Success is Not an Accident by Dr. John Kappas. The first step to rewrite your mental bank contract is to arrive at your yearly income goal. We call this your mental bank goal. Your mental bank goal should be 2 times your annual current reality income. Okay, remember when I said, when first mental bank seminar we ever had, you just made up any number, and I made up 200,000. Well, we've since learned some things about using it, and we found that if it's more than 2 times your current reality income, your mind resists it more. So by staying 2 times, you're going to get less resistance to that number. So the tricky part is, and this is for our students here, the thing that your clients need most help with is coming up with their mental bank goal. And it's 2 times their current goal. Remember I said, if you want to know what your life script is for prosperity, look at where you're at now. Well, that's where we're going to start. Whatever your annual income is now, that's what we're going to estimate as your life script. If your annual income has changed radically up and down the last couple of years, take 3 to 5 years on average. That's what a bank would do if you're asking for a loan. And so you need to know what is your current reality income. Okay? Current reality income. Now, for some people, this is really easy. They get a W-2, they get a 1099, they have a tax return, and it says right in there your gross income. By the way, it's gross, not net. What is your gross income? So for some people, it's going to be as simple as looking at their tax return or looking at their W-2 from their employer. Okay? However, this is Los Angeles. No one actually works here in Los Angeles. Right? If you don't believe me, just go to the mall in the middle of the day, middle of the week. It's filled. I don't know what they do, but they're at the mall. So there's different ways to understand. You don't have to actually earn the income. We're just talking about what is the universe delivering to you. What are you receiving? Because that tells us what your signal is. Whatever you're receiving, that's what the signal is. Okay, so what are you receiving from the universe? So a number of years ago, we were filming the same seminar for the same purpose, and my son happened to be on the crew in the back with the camera, and he was, he was still in school, and so we go home, and he goes, Dad, just like me, he goes, I really like that mental bank. I want to do it. I want to start it. I'm like, okay. And so we sat down. We got him a ledger, and we sat down, and we go, okay, let's talk. What's your annual income? He goes, I don't have any income. Okay, well then let's work backwards. Okay, and we go, okay, let's see. You're 1/3 of this house. What's the annual cost of living in this house? Okay, that's 1/3 you're receiving. Let's see, how much does it cost for you to go to that private school? Okay, that's what the universe is giving you. How about your clothes? How about your electronics? How about your entertainment? Turns out he earned more money than I did. Okay? So you can work backwards. What is the universe giving us? I don't see anyone naked. So we all got clothes. I don't see anyone starving. We all getting fed. We're being housed. We probably drove a car. The universe is giving us something. It's not just about what you earn. If you have absolutely no visible source of income, then what would it take to duplicate my life on an annual basis? That's what I'm getting. And by the way, it's not a nickel and dime figure. It's an estimate. It's a gross estimate of what you're earning. Try and come up with a nice round number, right? Like not, 37,950. No, just let's call it 40, all right? So first thing we need to do, we need to know our current reality income. We don't need to tell it to another person, but we're going to need it to know the next calculation. Are there any questions about how we come up with what is my current reality income? Well, what if you're married and your spouse works and you don't? It's the gross income divided in half. That's what the universe is delivering you. Again, what if you are living with your parents or you're living with someone? What would it cost for you to live the life you're living? Estimate it. So is everyone got a pretty good idea what that number is? We all feel good moving on to the next task? Once we know our current reality income, we double it. And that's called our mental bank goal. So our reality income is the real figure. Our mental bank goals is a fantasy figure, the double what our current reality income is. And some people go, well, double's not enough. I need more. Say, well, achieve that and then double it again. Okay, but it'll work better if you stay in that 2 times range than if you go above that. Okay? So we all come up with a mental bank goal, 2 times your reality income. Does everybody feel like they got a handle on what that is? Because that's going to lead to our next step. All right. By the way, on the online, you just put in your current annual income and it does the rest. For you hard copy people, you'll be doing these calculations doubling. Okay. Once you know what your mental bank goal is, then we're going to come up with an hourly rate. What you're going to pay yourself per hour for what we call value events, real life activities that lead you towards your goals. Okay? So we're going to come up with your hourly rate. So let's just go over the math. Let's say that in real life, if you add up everything the universe is delivering, it's $50,000 a year. What's your mental bank goal? $100,000. That's your mental bank goal. That's your 2 times figure. Okay. 100,000. If you're, and we're going to use this for our example tonight because everyone has a different hourly. But for example, we're going to use this $100,000 goal. And at $100,000, your hourly will be $100. Just 3 decimal points. Just move over. If your mental bank goal is $50,000, what's your hourly? $50. If your mental bank goal is $40,000, what's your hourly? $40 per hour. Okay. So if your mental bank goal is $500,000, what's your $500 an hour? So you need to make a note of that now in your worksheets. Your hourly rate. You're going to pay yourself this amount per hour for the value events. We'll talk about what those are and how we come up with those. All right, any questions about this? This is really the only math of the whole thing. You got to come up with an hourly rate. By the way, that hourly rate is probably more than someone else is paying you in real life, right? You would agree with that? So we're sending a different signal to our subconscious. They're telling us we're worth one amount, and we're telling our subconscious, no, we're worth a different amount. And the subconscious kind of puts the two together and sort of ends up sort of in the middle. Okay? All right. So we got our hourly rate. Now, some value events are hourly events, and some value events are really can't be calculated per hour. So we have hourly events, and we have some flat rate events. A flat rate event means you just pay yourself 1 hour flat rate, even though you're not calculating it by the hour. Okay? So value events are things that leads us to our goal. Now, our goal can be anything. The mental bank can be used to make more money. The mental bank can be used to improve your diet. It can be used for an athlete to improve their sports performance, for a relationship. Your value events determine what you're using your mental bank for. If you want to use your mental bank for relationships, then all your value events would be relationship-oriented events. If you want to use your mental bank to get sober, then all your value events would be things that help you get sober. If you want to use your mental bank for your athletic performance, then it would be everything to do with your athletic performance. If you want to use it to make money, it'd be everything to do with making money. So you can use it in a narrow focus, but we are going to recommend, unless you're set on using it for a narrow focus, we're going to recommend kind of a generalized focus, a little bit of everything. Happiness, success, and prosperity. Mix it all in there, and we're going to come up with value events for each area. Yes?
Just blinked actually on my question, but no, it was if you're doing it with other things besides money, do you still use the
Yes.
financial
Money is symbolic language.
Right.
It doesn't matter whether you're using it for sobriety or for sports or for relationship. It symbolizes success. And that's our culture has ingrained that in us. Other questions? Okay, so we, yeah.
Clarify, so we would put the 50, 100,000, then we would still do the hourly, but our value.
We'll get to that. You just need to know what your hourly is at this point. We'll talk about how you're going to do it.
I'm talking about for the, if you're doing like relationship or something.
We'll demonstrate it. Okay. So we now need to come up with our list of value events. This is going to be the most important part. By the way, this is another part that for our graduate or our students here, what you're going to help your clients with. You know, just having objectivity and knowing how this works, you can really help people set it up. For all of you here tonight, you have an opportunity to work with one of the interns. Have them look at how you've set it up, make sure you set it up right. Because how you set up your value events is going to be a crucial part of the mental bank. You want to pay yourself for the things that actually move you forward. Okay? Not fantasizing, not wishing, not imagining, but actual reality events. We're going to pay ourselves fantasy money for reality events. So let's just talk about some ideas for value events. Write down some ideas that you may use. When you do your mental bank ledger tonight, you're going to list out all your value events. Or on your online, it's going to ask you to list them out. Okay? So let's just take a category at a time. And let's talk about prosperity, making more money, since that's a common one. Well, here's some basics. If you have a job, pay yourself for going to that job. It doesn't matter that it's not your dream job. That job provides you an income. It provides you the latitude to do things, to pay your bills, to function. And we want to just pay ourselves, of course, double what they're paying us generally on a daily basis for going to that job. So that's going to be a real common one, is going to work. So if you work 6 hours, it'd be 6 times your hourly rate. Work 8 hours, 8 times your hourly rate. All right, seem clear? Well, what's the other ones we can do? How about paying our bills? That's part of our prosperity. So if it takes an hour to pay your bills, then it's 1 hour times your hourly rate. If it takes half hour, it'd be your hourly rate times half. How about learning about prosperity, taking a class or learning about reading a book about seminars or investments or real estate or whatever it is, or going to a class? Pay yourself for that. How about coming to this tonight, right? 3-4 hours of your life, counting travel. Pay yourself your hourly rate for doing it.
So if I come total 4 hours, I would pay.
Yeah, if you traveled here, you were here for 3 hours. Let's say 4 hours times your hourly rate. Well, we'll talk about that. So if your hourly rate's $100, let's just say that's our sample, and you're here 4 hours, what would you get paid for being here tonight? $400. Dropping into your precognitive dreams. All right? Okay. Let's say you're taking a class to change careers. Any of you HMI students relate to that one? Right? So you're taking the class, right, to change your career to become a hypnotherapist. The hours you are in school, the hours you travel to school, the hours you do homework. So homework. How about practicing your hypnotic skills? How about seeing clients? How about being hypnotized yourself by your mentor? How about marketing your practice? All of those things for you guys would be value events. All right? How about success? Well, that could be going to school. That could be reading. Pay yourself for the time you read, study.
Homework?
Homework. Well, we'll talk about that in another category. Okay, so let's talk about like health and happiness. How about meditation? How about prayer? Now, is that an hourly event, meditation? Well, not for most people. Right? How about prayer? Is that an hourly event? No. So on things that really don't calculate hourly, then you pay yourself that flat rate. Okay? Just like when we get to relationships. You know, how about sex? Is that an hourly thing? I'm going the flat rate myself. All right. Okay, how about achieving your daily dietary goal? Right? Pay yourself a flat rate for that. How about exercise? That's kind of an hourly thing. You know, you can set certain, depends on how detailed you want to get with the exercise. I set certain goals on certain exercises. When I achieve them, I pay myself the flat rate. Or you can just say, hey, I exercised, you know, for an hour, and pay yourself for that. I know for my dietary goals, and by the way, these things are going to ebb and flow. They're not set in stone. These value events will change over time. You can add some, you can take some away. We'll talk about that. So you're just, it's not like this is it forever. This is a working document, an evolving document, this contract that you have, this mental bank business. I remember once a number of years ago, I started on a dietary goal, and I limited myself to 25 carbs per day, not counting green vegetables. Okay, so 25 carbs per day, and so any day that I achieved that goal, I got a flat rate bonus. Okay? Now, eventually, that became a way of life, and I still live by that today. It's been 5 years. I don't pay myself anymore. So when things become automatic and achieved, they may drop off of your value events as you add new goals and new things, right? Like now, one of my goals, my happiness goals, is to take my dog for a walk in the morning. We have a 1 mile kind of trek. And, you know, it's easy for me to blow it off. You know, like, you don't need it today, you know. Right? I walked you yesterday. So I pay myself for not doing that, for taking him for a walk. Of course, what else? You know, stretching can be another great thing.
Can you give yourself credit?
Credit? No, you don't need credit.
No, like you can do it tomorrow for the money.
No, it's only what you did that day. Only what you did that day. Right? Okay, let's talk about relationships. Yeah, this is a big one. Relationships. You're going to pay yourself for things that benefit your relationship. Now, I'm going to give you a big tip. I did not think of this myself. My wife thought of this one. Okay? What you think benefits the relationship may not be what your partner thinks benefits the relationship. Right? You may be thinking, more sex. Yeah, I'll pay myself over there. Going, no. That's not one. Okay? How about looking into my eyes? And you're like, oh. So, here's the suggestion. Go to your partner. Say, tell me 3 to 5 things I could do that would make you happier in our relationship on a regular basis. What 3 to 5 things I could do that would make you happier in our relationship? And that's your value events. What they tell you will make them happier. Okay? I know for my wife, it's listening to her. Now, how does she know when I'm listening? Right? Well, she's come up with a formula. And that's, if I ask follow-up questions, then she knows I'm listening. If I don't ask follow-up questions, then she doesn't think I am listening, even though I am, but she doesn't think I am. And so I actually pay myself for follow-up questions. I pay myself for compliments, giving her compliments, which she is a beautiful girl, by the way, I mentioned it. Beautiful girl. And smart, right? Kisses. Again, your partner may not want more of those. Those are the things that she likes. Those are the things I pay myself for. Okay? And by the way, when you're doing your mental bank and you're looking over the list and you go, okay, did I do this one? No. Did I do this one? No. Did I follow up? No. Kisses? Compliments? No. It's a good feedback loop that you're kind of fucking things up. Right? Right? So you're not going to do everything on your list every night. You're going to go over your list and go, what? I'm sorry. Okay. You're going to go over your list and you're going to say, did I do this one? Did I do this? You know, you're kind of going to see, you may do one thing, you may do two things, you may do three things. You're not going to do, if you could have 50 things on your list, you're not going to do 50 things. They're just things that you're willing, that you value. Now think about it, you're the employer. Don't pay your employee for things that don't really benefit the company. I mean, like brushing your teeth. Unless you're having trouble brushing your teeth. Okay? However, some people cleaning their apartment, that may be a big deal. They're really struggling with it. And put it on your list.
A lot of these relationship things seem like they're short time.
All right, so you want longer term relationship things, like for example?
Well, no, my first question is, just to confirm, we would make those flat rate items, but then how do you decide what your flat rate is?
If you can't measure it by the hour, you can't measure a kiss by the hour, a compliment by the hour. 1 hour. Flat rate equals 1 hour. Yeah, right. And by here's some hourly relationship ones. Date night, you know, special family time. I remember at one point in my life, I found myself a single father with a 2-year-old. And I had never been home before 10 o'clock at night on a weeknight in my adult life. I worked at the Institute. Our classes are at night. I would go home at 10 o'clock at night. And so all of a sudden I was told, listen, you know, 3 days a week, you got to leave here and pick them up and, you know, and deal with them. You got them for the night, 3 nights a week. And I had to learn a whole new lifestyle, you know, like leaving at, you know, 3:30, 4 o'clock and then going and picking them up and then, you know, shopping and then cooking and then what do you do with them? You know, you got to do things with them. And I paid myself for every one of those things until they became automatic. I remember I wanted to play hockey at one point in my life. And but I'd never, you know, I hadn't done any team sports as an adult. And I paid myself for signing up, paid myself for going to practice, paid myself for going to games. Then I played hockey for 15 years. It fell off the list. I mean, it just became an automatic part of life. Okay? So this is a growing, evolving document depending on what you're focusing on this time. And you can shift your focus to different areas at different times. So you create your value event list. All right? Questions about that? Anyone want to throw out some ideas for us on our value events that we didn't mention?
Affirmations, thinking positively, visualizing?
No. We're going to deal with that in another section. Okay? But not an event we're going to. But yet prayer and meditation we're going to do. So I mean, the fine line, yep.
Could you pay yourself like savings if it's like a prosperity goal or success goal?
You can pay yourself for doing your banking, but you could set a savings goal every time you set something aside that you pay yourself. Sure, I like that idea. Mm-hmm. Yep. Practicing hypnotherapy. What about it? Value event for you? Mm-hmm. Good. Practicing with a real client or practicing with just practicing?
Practicing with a friend.
Okay. Oh yeah, practicing is very important. Yeah. All right. Anything else? No? Any of you guests have ideas? Yes?
I didn't hear anything to suggest for people that are single who need to learn how to love themselves instead of loving someone, just in a relationship.
Okay. Well, you know, this sort of is doing that in a roundabout way anyway, meaning when you're paying yourself and you're raising your value and you're changing your script and all of that. But how about doing something special for yourself? I mean, it could be as general as that. Special time for me. It could be going to a spa. It could be taking a hot bath. Special time for me. Oh, that work for you?
Complimenting yourself. I was just trying to help other
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. Special time for me.
Complimenting yourself?
No, I don't want
How can
complimenting.
you compliment your mate and get an hourly rate, but you can't compliment yourself and get an hourly rate?
You can do whatever you want.
Exercising.
Exercising is a big one for a lot of people, right? Yeah. You know what? Weighing yourself. By the way, the first step. We have another free class on hypnosis and weight loss. And the one action you should take every single day if you want to lose weight is to weigh yourself. So make that a value event. Just getting on the scale. If it's flat rate. Yes.
Spending time with the kids without any distractions, phone.
Yes. So I called it quality time with the kid. In other words, you have time. You're cooking, you're yelling, you're picking up, you're making. But then what do you do with them? You know. And so like at some point we'd have to play a game or do some event or some kind of creative thing. You know. I know for us we spent a little over 7 years without a TV when he was a kid, just as an experiment, and it was good. I thought it was good timing for his age. It forced us to play games, and he'd say, "So what are we going to do?" I don't know. And we'd get stuff out, and we'd have to do stuff, you know. And so that was quality time versus just picking up toys and getting things done, you know. All right. So we got this list of value events. Now I want you to think about your list. I want you to pick out something on your list that is the thing you're going to resist the most, the thing that's going to be the hardest for you to do, or the one you're just going to resist the most. And I want you to put a little star next to it. And then I want you to look at your list one more time and say, what's the thing that actually is the most important thing on this list, the thing that's going to move me forward? Yeah? And I want you to star that one. I know for our students here, coming to school, seeing clients, I mean, one of those things is going to be your star list. But what's the one you're going to struggle with the most? Maybe your Atlanta series videos, or your reading books, or whatever it is. Could be cleaning the apartment. So the 2 stars on your list, we're going to call those bonus events. And you're going to pay yourself double your hourly rate or double your flat rate, if they're flat rate events, for those events. You can change your bonus events when they no longer are the most important thing, or when they're no longer the difficult thing. But for now, those are the 2 that you're going to bonus. And both online and here, you can change which ones are your bonus. Okay? All right. So we've got a list of events that we're going to pay ourselves for. And we know how much per hour we're going to pay. And we know some events are hourly and some events are flat rate. Here's one we didn't talk about. What's the most important value event in the mental bank? Doing your mental bank. So you're going to pay yourself your flat rate for just doing your mental bank. So even if you did absolutely nothing that day, if you do your mental bank, you made something. All right. So when you open your ledger, again, it'll be a little different online. It'll be a little easier online. It'll tell you what to do and when to do it. But this is one day. These 2 pages facing. We're going to start with this side, the ledger side. And it looks like this. And so we're going to put the date. What's the date today? Okay. All right. And then we're going to start with the mental bank goal. For our example, we all have the same mental bank goal, just because it's 100,000. And we're going to write that. First thing it's going to ask you, both on the online and in the hard copy, is to state your mental bank goal. This is the most important part of doing the mental bank. This is you dropping a pebble in the thing. You're telling yourself in that vulnerable time that your goal is $100,000. This has got to become a known. Is it a known when you start? No. It's going to become a known. How do I know this is the most important thing? Why do I say that? Because I have been doing the mental bank for a long time. I've achieved my goal multiple times. Had to double each time. When you do double, what you'll find is for months, you'll accidentally write the old number. You know, you're in that woozy, hypnotic state kind of thing. You write the old number and you go, oh, shoot, you got to change it. Why are you writing the old number?
It's your story now.
It's your story now. It's your new known. That's our goal, to make this our new known. So what's the first thing we pay ourselves for? Doing the mental bank. If this is your goal, what's your hourly? 100. It's a flat rate. I like to just put a little star for flat rates. And so what's our deposit? All right. Let's go through my day and you'll sort of see how it goes. Okay, what happened today? Oh, I was so good. I walked Brody today. Okay. And what's up there? All right, what else I did? Well, I exercised today. Okay. What else did I do today? Oh, well, I worked. And how much did I work? Well, I think I did 7 today. Okay, what else did I do today? Oh, teach. That's my bonus event. Why is it my bonus event?
Because you're emo.
Well, in a sense, yes. 2 reasons. It's the thing I do best. Of what I do here is the thing I do best. And second, so it's my greatest contribution to my company. The second thing is, it's the hardest. Being nice to you for 3 hours straight, not an easy task for me. Okay, so times 3 hours, 600. So what else is going to happen? Well, there's still time left today. Susie compliments. Yeah, look at that. Well, in fact, I'm going to talk to her, and I'm going to do some follow-up questions. Okay. And am I going to do anything else? No. All right, what did we earn today? 100, 200, 300, 1,000, 600, 1,800, 1,900. See that? Okay. Are you earning 1,900 a day now in real life? No. Maybe not. Maybe that's a good known to have. Maybe that's something we want to be thinking every single night in the most vulnerable time of our night, writing it out in longhand or on the keyboard through going past our defense mechanisms. 1,900 a night. Think about rude words, polite words, and how just shuffling them around changes the decisions that you make. What do you think this is doing? See how this works? Okay. I'm going to throw a little twist at you. You're going to react to this twist because of your scarcity mentality. We're going to, remember, fantasy reality. We're paying ourselves fantasy money for real events. The more we fuse fantasy reality, the more the subconscious accepts it all as equal. We're going to twist it one more time. Any actual money you receive on any given day from any source, I don't care if it's someone hands you cash, someone buys you something as a gift, you get your paycheck, you get your refund from your taxes, on the day it arrives. Not your net worth, not what's in your bank, but the day you receive your money. That's called reality income. You're going to write it right here, reality income. Again, online it'll prompt you for this. And whatever it is, let's say today, $500, let's just use that figure. You're going to subtract the reality income from your daily deposit. Okay? So you're going to subtract real money from the fantasy money. You're going to fuse them even more. Why subtract? Why, George? Why? Well, one, you don't want to subtract, do you? No. Because why don't you want to subtract? Because you're afraid you're losing something. Afraid limited resources, scarcity mentality. We want you to let go of that. Don't worry about whether you're adding or subtract. Don't worry about spending. Don't worry about expenses. It's all part, just accept it all. If someone dropped $10,000 cash at your doorstep every single day for months and months and years, and then someone came up and said, listen, I'm having a hard time. Do you think you could help me out with $1,000? Would you hesitate? No, because every day more money is coming. We want to get over that. You know that people who gamble with other people's money are luckier than when they gamble with their own. We want to desensitize to subtracting. Plus, we would get to our goal too fast. And I remember, I have reacted to this. I remember once I was doing the mental bank early on, and I sold a piece of property, and I made a profit on it, and I subtracted that profit, and I went upside down in my mental bank. I was in the hole. And I went to my dad and said, Dad, I think I'm the first person to go bankrupt doing mental bank. I failed my mental bank. He goes, what are you talking about? And I go, I have a negative balance. He goes, how did that happen? I said, you know that property? I sold it. And I made like triple my money on it. He goes, so that's a bad thing? I go, that's not a bad thing. But he goes, that's what you want, George. You want to go negative as often as you can. That's the problems you'd like to have. I didn't think of it that way. Don't worry about whether you're negative or positive. You just keep making more money. All right. So if it's 19 minus 5, what's our balance? 1,400. In the book, it's going to look like this. Now, the first day you have zero balance, right? Right? Because you don't have anything. You're just starting. But on the second day, you do have a balance. On the third day, you have a balance. Every day after that, you have a balance. So you're going to take your balance from the previous day and put it right here. Now, it could be 0, or let's just make up a balance, okay? I don't want to confuse you, but let's make one up.
2,800.
Come on, 40,000. How about that? Think big.
Big money.
Right? You're going to be there soon.
Yep.
And then, so you deposited, what's your new balance? 41,400. Okay? So you're writing this digitally. That's part of how the subconscious mind works. Okay? You're using ideomotor, you're writing digitally, and then right here, you're going to write a little sentence, and you're going to write it out. Type it out or write it out. As of this date. So you're going to write, it's going to be, as of this date, I have earned and accumulated a mental bank balance of. As of this date, I have earned and accumulated a mental bank balance of. And then you're going to write out here, $41,400. Write it out like you would a check. Interesting how they make us do that on a check. You got the digital, and then you got the longhand. We're going to do that in mental bank. And then you're going to sign it like you would a check. And you're all going to do that in that section of the hard copy. Again, in the online, it'll just tell you exactly what to do it, where to do it, what to say. But you're going to type that out. As of this date, I've earned and accumulated a mental bank balance of $41,400. Boom, sign it, close the account. Once you've done this a couple times, by the way, you're only writing your contract the first day. You're not rewriting your value events and all that. They're already in there. You're just doing this, you're starting with the ledger. 2 minutes. Once you've done it a couple times, 2 minutes. Yes?
So when we first get started with this, how do we know what our initial balance would be?
Well, it's 0 the first day.
Okay.
And then what you deposit that day will be your balance forward for the next day.
Okay, so in this example, you've just been doing it
For 6 months or whatever, yeah. Yeah, it's just an example.
So our balance forward would be 0?
First day. Yeah.
So when you said whenever I receive the income subtract, so since I get income every week, so
Yes.
only subtract.
Only subtract on the days you receive the income.
Okay.
Yes. And then what? Well, you're not going to. Chances are you're not going to be upside down. You're depositing more money than you're subtracting. But it does keep you from just skyrocketing up. You know, there's a whole bunch of reasons why we do this that sort of support it. But you're going to be depositing more than you're subtracting.
What about when we reach it? Do we have to write a whole nother contract?
When this becomes your reality income, then double it again.
But do we write like a whole nother contract again?
You just adjust this contract for double. Yeah. And then your value, then your hourly goes up. Double. Right? Yeah, that's your goal. Your goal is for this fantasy to become the reality. And once you hit this, what's your goal in the next goal? 200,000. Right? And then 200 per hour.
When that becomes our mental bank reality, we double it, not our reality.
No, your reality. When your mental bank goal becomes your reality income, then you double your goal. Your mental bank's always 2 times your reality income.
So we would keep that number in there until in reality that.
Keep that number until reality, that becomes the reality. Yeah. And this is not a 1-week program. It's not a 30-day program. You know, this is a program that takes incremental change into account. Yes, sir.
So what do you do when your mental bank hits that?
Nothing. You just
Keep going.
Yeah. In fact, we estimate, and it's just an estimate, when you have 4 times this amount in your balance, that's when this will most likely will be happening for real. Just an estimate. No, but it only is true if you've been subtracting your reality income. The more money you make, the more you're subtracting, the more you got to keep making to keep it going up.
I just want to clarify, the reality income is also the money that you make, like, working as well, from work?
I hope so. So working, robbing a bank, whatever, however it comes to. Doesn't matter. Gift.
Refinance or something like that?
No, not really that. I mean, you're not calculating your net worth or anything like that. Just
So like, let's say you pull out equity from your house.
then count it as reality income.
It has to be counted or it does not?
It's, you know, you're the boss. You figure out what you might do with that. It's a little tricky, and you can go a variety of ways. But I think most people might count it, yeah. But you are the boss. You can't really screw this up too bad. There's nothing you can do that's going to hurt you, right? But you want to do the way it's designed to maximize the success. He worked with not just Dr. Kappas, but the entire HMI staff has been doing this with a lot of people for a lot of years, and this is the formula. Okay, so you do your ledger, you write out your balance as of this day, and then you move to the next section.
You write the actual date down there as of this date, 4/18, or do you just write as of this?
You could. I don't, but you could. You've already stated the date when you open the ledger. So on your hard copy, you did this. Now you move over to this page. Again, on the online, it's going to guide you through, just sort of automatically take you through section by section, and the sections aren't the same exact order as this. But here's how it is. So the next section is called your mental bank happenings. Mental bank happenings. Happenings means, remember we said that you make the bad stuff happen and you make the good stuff happen, right? You make everything happen. It's all the universe delivering on the signal you sent. Which should we reinforce? The good or the bad? The good. So we're only going to reinforce the good. You're going to say, what happened to me? What did I make happen? What's a mental bank happening? What good things happened to me today? Okay? And you're just going to note them. Now, I'm one of those pessimistic people. Every time. I do my ledger just fine. I have no problem with that. And I come to this next section and I go, nothing good happened today. Right? And I have to start real basic. Well, I guess that was a good thing. Woke up. What else? Well, I did have a nice walk with Brody, the puppy. That was nice. Yeah. Oh, I had a, let's see here. Oh, I had a really nice lunch with Susie. I came up with a great idea today from past campaigns. What else? Oh, I videoed a new mental bank video today. Been wanting to do that for a little while. And what else? We had some, had 2 new students enrolled today in the college. They were very nice. And then when I run out of space, I stop. That's my goal, to fill up this page. Now in the online, there's no running out of space, but I just go till I kind of run out. Now in the hard copy, because I did that for many years, I would do this, and then it would hit me like the most important thing. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot about that. And so I would sometimes use this as my emergency space. You know? Again, that's not an issue in the online. All right. The last thing is your affirmation section. Affirmation section. Now it says investments and affirmation. Investments is an advanced technique that they describe in the book, Success is Not an Accident. And you don't do investments till you've been doing mental bank for years. So I'm going to leave that for the book and for later. Affirmations. Remember, you're in the hypnotic state when you're doing this. You're in a natural state of hypnosis. You are the hypnotherapist talking to yourself. Give yourself 2 to 3 good hypnotic suggestions every single day and use the ideomotor, keyboard or writing to deliver them. And, you know, there's endless affirmations. You can look some up. You can make some up. You find ones that you like and you stick with it. I'll share with you a couple that I like for myself. And then there's endless sources. I like this one. This one people have used for a long time. We came up with it here. I'm receiving cash and income from new and exciting sources. Just one that we like. I'm receiving cash and income from new and exciting sources. I am giving and receiving intimate love. I am saying yes to success, happiness, prosperity. I am saying yes to marriage. I am saying yes to family. I am saying yes to Susie. Just positive ones. I enjoy setting and achieving all my goals. I am relaxed and allowing success to come to me. I am recognizing the many gifts in my life. I am relaxed and happy. I am listening to God. I am open to suggestions. These are all positive statements. Every day can be different. You can stick with the same one for 30 days and then rotate the other one. Not more than 3. I usually go with 2. Just like in hypnosis, we don't give someone 30 suggestions. We try and stick to 1 or 2 key concepts and let that sink in before we start putting in more. Okay? You are the hypnotist at that moment. All right, so you're going to write that in your little section there. You're going to close the book. For those of you that have this hard copy, I recommend a pen that will clip right to the side of the book. And you keep it with the book. And I remember when I was a hard copy guy for many years, I would tell my family members, I don't care if the house is burning down and you're looking for a pen to write down 911's number, don't touch that pen. Because once you're in the hypnotic state and you're doing your mental bank, if there's no pen, oh, you're not going to do the mental bank. Okay? Here's some other just tricks of the trade. Remember, homeostasis does not want you to do the mental bank. The mental bank is changing you. Okay, so we got to remember it's kind of fighting this little process a little bit. Don't get too tired. I'd rather you err on doing it before the 30 minutes than get too tired. Once you're too tired, your subconscious is fully in control and your subconscious does not want to change. Okay, so don't get too tired. I don't know, we have the DVR, and we record our favorite shows, and I get home from work late, after lectures and stuff, and, Susie and I'll be like, oh, let's watch our favorite show, and we'll watch our show. And of course, there's 3 or 4 of them in there. You go, oh, you want to watch, be naughty and watch one more, And I say, let me go do my mental bank first, because after that second show, I'm not doing mental bank. I may not make it through the second show. And so here's another one. Don't lie down in the bed to do your mental bank if you can help. Once I'm prone in the bed, there's only 2 things that are going to happen. Neither one is this. Okay? Because it's just such an, associated, once you get in that. So another thing, I would keep it on my pillow. Pull back the covers like, damn, there's that mental bank, right? I couldn't even put my head down without having to pick it up first. So before getting in the bed, I like sit on the little couch next to the bed and I do the mental bank. Now I can get in the bed. It's like a ritual before getting in the bed. The more days you do the mental bank, the better it's going to work. The more pebbles you're dropping in. For my online, I have a laptop set up in my little home office, and I just go by there and bang, bang, bang. It's like, I'm doing my mental bank. I'll be right there, honey. And I go do my mental bank. And I make sure that I do it before I'm too tired. And so that's my little nightly ritual, and it takes me 2 minutes. Yes?
If you miss a day.
Then you miss a day. You don't go back and pay yourself for yesterday. The whole idea is drop that pebble. Okay? And the more consistent you are. Now, here's a little thing about habits. There's a lot of behavioral science to willpower and habits. Overcoming small challenges leads to overcoming big challenges. The more small challenges you overcome, the more big challenges you'll overcome. Getting through your resistance and your homeostasis and doing your mental bank for 2 minutes is a development of your willpower, development of your habits, development of sort of you taking charge. By missing, then the other side wins that night. The more times, it's like going to the gym. The more times you miss, the harder it is to go back. Miss a week, and you're starting all over in terms of your willpower, in terms of your habits. So it's a really great habit. People go, well, how long are we supposed to do the mental bank? For our whole life? Well, it's a little bit of like prayer or meditation. Once you find something that works for you, then why would you give it up? Yes?
So, do you pay yourself for something that you didn't do, like smoking cigarette? Like, I didn't smoke cigarettes today.
Yes, you can pay yourself for no cigarettes, pay yourself for no sugar, you can pay yourself for no alcohol or drugs, you can pay yourself for no criticisms. I love that. A day without criticisms, right? Day without judging someone else.
And there's also
Day without complaining. Yep.
And there's also like short goals coming in, right? Like you have to do something and it's only going to take a week. So you add it in, and after 1 week when it's finished, it's gone, right?
Yes, I mean, yes and no, but a lot of times you're going to go into more categories than specific goals. Categories. And you could have a category, achieving small goals, setting and achieving small goals. Yeah. Or anything else?
So let's say if your daily goal is hourly rate is $100.
Right.
You go with 1 day of no criticism. How do you rate that?
Flat rate.
Which is?
Remember, it's not measured by the hour. So if you don't criticize that whole day, it's a flat rate event, so it's 1 hour.
1 hour.
Right. Now, it could be your bonus event, which, by the way, not criticizing anybody or anything, or not complaining, that's huge. That's a huge accomplishment. Yeah, it's a bonus event. And really powerful. Yeah, I really like that. Nothing in the morning. You can do your prayers in the morning, your meditation in the morning. Those are great times to do those other things. Yeah. This is great for sobriety, by the way. Teach newly sober people. Their value events are really clear. Call your sponsor, go to meetings, day without drinking, do your writing. I mean, it's real easy to go into and teach newly sober people in 12-step programs how to use this to help achieve their goals. It doesn't eliminate their need for their 12-step program, but it's there to support them. And those value events, that money. I'm worth more. That's what you're saying. And when you're going to end up with a balance. I have a balance in just shy of $2 million right now in my mental bank. Every single night I'm dealing with that figures. And you'd be surprised how it translates to your real life. All of a sudden those become acceptable figures. Okay? All right, anything else? Yes?
The recipe.
For success.
6 things, yeah.
Yeah.
One is the magic 30 minutes.
Yes.
The book.
Yes.
Talk about that magic 30 minutes.
Yes. The magic 30 minutes is in the book. Everything I talk about is in the book. The book was written a long time ago, so I've explained things a little different and whatnot, but basically this is the original text of the mental bank. Okay? All right, so when you go home tonight, Your online ledger is waiting for you. You just log in at hypnosis.edu using your email and your password. You'll go to items I have purchased in your main menu, and it'll be your Mental Bank subscription. You click on it, and then the first night it's going to ask you to list your value events, state your reality income, and then the rest it'll do for you. And then after that, you're going to log in, and it's just going to take you through the steps, tell you what to do at every single step. Or on this one, the first couple pages are blank to list your value events. Write out your contract. It gives you the sample, what to write on your contract, right there on the first page. You just see what it says, and you rewrite that on the blank part, and you start writing your value events. And you can, cross some out and add some later and change your bonus events. Okay. On the online, you can set it to send you a text message reminder at a certain time of the night. I have mine set for 11, and it's I use it very, very helpful. It can be an email instead. Yep.
Do you use both the online and the written book?
No, I use the either or. I mean, you could, but you'd have to transfer. So the answer is really practically no. You can do the online on an iPad or a tablet, but not your phone. Not yet. It's too little. And it doesn't work on that yet. Okay? All right, any questions? All right, first thing you're going to pay yourself for is getting your ass off the couch, getting in the car, driving down to HMI College of Hypnotherapy, and sitting patiently and having the thirst for the knowledge and the desire to grow and change. And I can tell you, you are the 1% right now, because most people tonight did not make it off the couch to go someplace new, to learn something new. So congratulate yourself, pay yourself, and thank you for your attention. Good night.